It's a wet and rainy morning at 23 degrees Celsius here in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. I'll take it as showers of blessing. And I'm sure for celebrants today, they will also be seeing it as drops of blessing. So, good morning and welcome to your daily dose of sunshine. Because you know, no matter what the weather says, we bring you the sun. Yes. Welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Maupe Ogunyuso.
I was waiting for you to go there. Sometimes it seems like sometimes the sun is rationed when the weather is cold or cool. But all the same, it's a sunny day. Welcome to the program. It's the 1st of July. I'm Ayo Makinde. And indeed, there must be quite a number of people celebrating today and this month, Maupe.
Indeed, I want to start with the chairman of Channels Television, Dr. John Momo, who would like to say a very happy and warm birthday to him today. So also our guest in the studio, who we'll be introducing shortly, he says today is his daughter's birthday. So it does appear that quite a number of people are starting the second half of the year with celebrations, and we pray that celebrations will never cease in their homes. But Ayo, well, we're looking at the bright side of things for those people who are celebrating. You know, in Abuja here, it was quite a scene at the PDP Wadata house. And we're not going to waste too much time. There was controversy initially as to whether or not the PDP, the People's Democratic Party, the major opposition party, was going to be holding a NEC meeting yesterday, or whether it was holding an expanded caucus meeting. Then we now heard the news. You know, when the news broke eventually and reporters reported it, they said it was a National Executive Committee meeting. And I was saying, but that's not what the chairman said. But then I listened again, and then it was like the chairman himself was the one saying that the PDP was holding a National Executive Council meeting. So I was just wondering, did he succumb? Did they eventually agree? Whatever it was that they held yesterday, eventually, after all the initial obstacles that seemed to have been placed in their way, some people did not see it as obstacles. They saw it as policemen doing their job as they ought to, but not so some other members. They were able to hold whatever it was that they held. So you can call it by whatever name. We're going to call it the name that they called it. And this morning, interestingly, Ayo, the papers are reporting very favorably the meeting that was held in the PDP Wadata complex yesterday. And yeah, you see, for instance, the Punch says, warring PDP blocks reunite for 2027 showdown. So you see it, how PDP governors BOT resolved impasse. That is how the Daily Trust is capturing it. So maybe we shouldn't focus too much on the name, but focus largely on the content.
Well, as you said, Maupe, we'll be taking a look at the story, but where you started, you were saying whether it was a National Executive Council NEC meeting or an expanded caucus meeting. Well, it could be a hybrid of a NECOS meeting or something like that, but hey, maybe the details. Well, of course, as you said, the papers are recording as their 100th. For instance, this day, newspaper is recording as the 100th NEC meeting of the PDP, and major highlights are in this story.
Larry, please calm down.
Okay, sorry. Okay.
Incoming voice call from 08.
Wadata Plaza, the National Secretariat of the People's Democratic Party, venue of the party's National Executive Committee meeting. The unusually heavy presence of armed police officers is already creating tension between the police and some members of the party staff. Some members of the Board of Trustees who came for the meeting are also not allowed to access the venue of their meeting.
Nigerians are watching. You came to our office surrounded by police because you want to have a meeting. Where you want to turn us to North Korea? Or turn this country to Russia? We will not allow it.
BOT members of the party later gather at the Yaradua Center for a meeting, while governors elected on the PDP platform hold a separate meeting at the Bauchi State Governor's Lodge.
It wasn't a barricade, it was a job of policing to make the place secure for accredited NEC members that are coming, so that we don't get miscreants and charlatans to take over the place.
Calm later returns to the venue and the NEC meeting of the PDP commences, with serving and some former governors as well as members of the BOT in attendance.
The chairman, BOT.
The acting national chairman of the PDP sets the tone, announcing the agenda.
And this NEC is going to deliberate on only one item, so that we don't run foul of the other regulators masculine of asking us to do this or that.
The chairman of the PDP Board of Trustees and chairman of the PDP Governors Forum also take turns to address the gathering.
We shall survive. The god of politics is in this party, and we hope to take over power in 2027.
The goal of leaving us, people leaving the party, are all cosmetic. We are all created to diminish us. We are all on the same page. No excuse for coalition.
The meeting then enters into a closed-door session. About 2 hours after, the meeting ends and the acting national chairman briefs journalists about their resolutions.
We were all together and we all agree that Senator Anyao will continue to act as national secretary, and also to bring the issue of convention, to bring it up in the next NEC, which is slated for 23rd of next month.
The PDP recent crisis centers around the national secretaryship of the party, a matter that members of the National Executive Committee say they have settled ahead of the next NEC meeting, which has been scheduled for July 23rd.
Yes, you have seen and heard the outcome of that meeting yourself, and I'm sure you heard the chairman, the acting chairman, Umar Damagum, call that meeting the NEC meeting with just one item on the agenda. And so we'll be asking, was all of the brouhaha before this meeting held, before it eventually held, was it a storm in a teacup? This morning we have joining us someone who might understand the importance of the position of the secretary of a party. We have here Mr. Peter Ame in our studios. He's the National Secretary of the Coalition of United Political Parties, the CUPP. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Good morning. And joining us virtually all the way from Bayelsa, we have Theophilus Alaye, who is the president of the Ijaw Youth Council. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Alaye.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Well, let me start with you, Mr. Ame. I'm sure that, you must have been watching events that led up to this point where the PDP eventually had this meeting and eventually they've been able to reach a compromise as to the status of the national secretary of their party. According to reports, he's been reinstated. But those who, were have been his supporters from before now say he never went anywhere. He's always been performing his functions as the national secretary of the party. It is just now that they have now chosen to regard him. What would you say about the events leading up to the meeting we saw yesterday?
I think there's miscommunication or misinformation in the public. What led to all this crisis, in the first place, is the fact that Anyanwu went to contest for governor. And you can't be contesting and be a wrong primaries in a political party based on the constitution of the PDP, and then you now became the candidate of the PDP in Imo State, and then you hold on to, you can't continue to hold on to the position of national secretary at the time. So that was what brought this current impasse that we're seeing. So what would have happened? Where the PDP got it wrong? What would have happened? The constitution is very clear. Political party constitution are very clear. In as much as INEC as a regulator and register of political party regulate the activities of the political party, they regulate it in line with the constitution of the party. They are not going to go outside the constitution of the party to determine what you do. So what the party was supposed to do was to self-regulate its own activities. What they were supposed to immediately to ask the deputy national secretary to step in and start acting in that acting capacity. It's an automatic process. You don't even need an INEC meeting. It's in the constitution. You don't need a NEC meeting, you don't need a constitution. This thing. All you need to do is to communicate the National Working Committee decision to the INEC and say, oh, based on our party constitution, the National Secretary is now our gubernatorial candidate in Imo State. So during this time of where this vacuum exists, the Deputy National Secretary will be acting in this place. So when Anyanwu came back, he wanted to return automatically, to resume duty as the National Secretary, which is not the proper process. The NEC was supposed to sit, either to reabsorb or to continue to act in the way, whatever process the constitution has been established for the deputy to act. So what the zonal committee of the Southeast did was to say, oh, this slot belongs to us. So we are appointing somebody to replace it, which is Ude Okoye. So after making that appointment, they went to court and got a judgment. Then Anyanwu went to Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said the court erred to have announced Ude Okoye as national secretary. Because it is an internal activities of the political party which they are supposed to self-regulate themselves. So that was the decision. So, but to say that the court explicitly stated that Anyanwu is the national secretary is not true. So I think there's a place where INEC got this process wrong, and the party also did not have enough experience, enough understanding to manage and take over the affairs of his internal working system. Because you couldn't have allowed this vacuum to exist. You appointed Okoye, you went back again to a governor's forum meeting that is not an organ of the party, and then appointed the deputy secretary. You don't have to appoint him. It was just to assume his duties as the deputy national secretary, as enshrined in the constitution of the party. Political parties are, like I've always told people, a body corporate. They have perpetual succession. And if everybody in that party resigns today and remaining one person, that party leaves. So it is not a thing that people should want to try to legislate all process of political party into law. So party must understand their constitution, work in line with that constitution, and so that they can bring sanity to the processes that lead to the development of our democratic process.
There are lots of juggernauts within the PDP, and one would assume that they would have considered some of the things that you have said, and I'm sure that's what led to the arguments back and forth, and eventually they decided to go and see the regulator of political parties, which is INEC. That's the meeting we saw last week. And it would seem that coming from that meeting, they realized that, look, if we didn't go this way, it would seem that we'll have a legal problem. So are you quite satisfied at how they have resolved let's say, the crisis within their party?
The crisis has been resolved, and if they are satisfied, I'm okay. What we want is a stable political atmosphere. They have already made mistake, I told you. Because if you had allowed the deputy secretary to act pending when the next sits to allow appointment from the Southeast, you wouldn't have had this impasse in the first place. So for INEC to eventually say, oh, the national secretary is your secretary, you have to abide with that regulation, because at the end of the day, you will not be able to have your candidates and other things put through if the national secretary refuses to sign. But in another case, we are in as much as INEC should regulate political parties, it should not be over-regulated, because we have a situation where if you have a 13-man national working committee, because the party national working committee is supposed to be responsible for the day-to-day running or activities of the party, and if you have a national working committee that was duly convened and has the necessary form the necessary quorum to take decision, and 9 out of them say, "Oh, we have taken the decision to be like this," and then INEC overrides them. That also, weaken the internal working of party system. So we must have a place for where INEC has its authority, where it stops, and where the party, authority starts.
Did INEC override them? Did INEC not just say, "Well, this is the situation we currently have on our hands"?
Was there any statement, any part of that judgment from the Supreme Court that specifically named Anyanwu as the National Secretary? That's what we're asking. There's none. So if there's something like that, that's when INEC will now insist, go back to your national, because Anyanwu was a candidate of the party, the provisions of the Constitution.
Well, running up to this particular meeting, we had also seen other issues being brought to the fore. I mean, it's also stemming from the PDP, and then people were also talking about how it took the president's intervention. So we saw that meeting between Barrister Nyesom Wike, who's the Minister of the FCT, and Governor Siminalayi Fubara, who's been suspended as Governor of Rivers State, happening at the presidential villa. That was before the president traveled out of the country. And all of these activities were happening, leading up to this meeting, it would seem. So it would seem that there have been efforts here and there to try and reconcile things. Some people have said, look, it's a little interesting that it is the president who is a member of another political party who has now had to intervene in this crisis. I do not know what your take will be on this matter, Mr. Alaye, given what it is that we've seen. This is also as you comment on development within the PDP.
Thank you very much. What is happening in Rivers State, as we can see, when the state of emergency was declared, even before the state of emergency, there were lots of ups and downs in Rivers State. And as president of the largest youth council in the southern part of Nigeria, we made our position very clear that what we want is peace, stability, so that the people of Rivers State can have the dividends of democracy. And over time, the governor, Siminalayi Fubara, has always made it very clear that nothing is too big to sacrifice in order for Rivers State to have peace, so that the people of Rivers State can have the dividends of democracy. Mr. President have intervened before this time, and this is the second time he's coming in. And if what they have done is for the interest of Rivers people, I believe it's not out of place, and Rivers people are going to be okay with it. In as much as the governor has accepted that the peace and the reconciliation process is okay and is going to benefit Rivers people. As the president of council and as Rivers people are the winners of the process. Secondly, as a Democrat, someone that believes in democracy, that really wants democracy to strive and succeed in Nigeria, what we want is independence. In as much as we are aware, we are operating a federal system of government where the states are subnationals, and they have their own process of being elected into office. The governor of Rivers State was given the mandate by Rivers people, and the Constitution did not clearly state if the president in scenarios of state of emergency has the power to suspend a governor. That is, by the way, it has been done, and some of us feel that it was a constitutional breach that was done by Mr. President. And if this is allowed to serve as a precedent, a time is going to come where a serving president can decide to suspend over 10, 15 governors of various states here in Nigeria, and nothing will be done. We know that some persons have challenged the process and the matter is before the Supreme Court. We are believing that the Supreme Court will use its wisdom to give a clear interpretation of that section of the Constitution if Mr. President has the powers to suspend a serving governor. Because we as youth, what we want in Nigeria is a stable environment where democracy can strive. These things that are happening, in as much as we are concerned, is worrisome. And some of us now begin to wonder if at all democracy is going to succeed in Nigeria or not. because dictatorship is not comfortable or good for a democratic process. And what really happened in Rivers State is something that every person, lovers of democracy, should be worried about, because a day is going to come. Today, Rivers State is experiencing state of emergency, and the people elected governor is suspended. Tomorrow, it might be that a northern person will be president of Nigeria, and the governor of Lagos State is going to be suspended, and someone from Kaduna or Kano will be made sole administrator of Lagos State, which might have the possibility of hindering the developmental achievements that we are all recording in Lagos State. We are not saying that if there are tendencies of what is happening in a state will lead to crisis. We have also have other state of emergency that has been declared in this country by other administrators. But suspending the people elected governor has not happened. But the governor over time, I've said it time without number, that there is nothing too big to sacrifice in order for Rivers people to benefit. So in as much as the conciliation process is to benefit Rivers people, we are okay with it. And we just pray that let the governor come back and complete those people-oriented projects that he has already established. So he has started in Rivers State so that the people of Rivers State can really benefit and have the dividends of democracy before the 2027 phase of the election that will come up. So Mr. President intervening to bring stability and peace in Rivers State is a welcome development, in as much as that peace and reconciliation process is going to benefit Rivers people. We as the Youth Council, the largest youth organization, we are in support of it.
Well, I know that Ayo has questions for you, so over to him.
Well, thank you, Maokwe. Let me come to Mr. Ame with you in the studio. Well, there's something in the fine details of what the acting national chairman of the PDP said while briefing newsmen outside of Wadata Plaza. He said, and I quote, "We all agree that Senator Anyanwu will continue to act as the national secretary of the PDP." Now, it's the continue to act that I picked on. Is this significant in your opinion?
He's making it very good.
No, just a second. That question is for Mr. Ame in the Abuja studio. My apologies, Mr. Lai. Oh. That question is for okay, Mr. Ame in the Abuja studio.
Anyanwu was supposed to be a substantive national secretary because he was elected at the convention. So if there was a break in its process of continuing for that 4-period term as enshrined in Section 223 of the Constitution, where you have organs of the party elected periodically for a period of 4 years. And if that is not longer there, the party had reached a compromise within their caucus and NEC meeting, and I don't know whether NEC was there in that NEC meeting. They have reached a compromise to allow him to continue to act so that they can have some level of sanity. But going forward, this kind of compromise, I don't know how long it will go, because there's somebody outside controlling somebody inside. At the end of the day, their tenure will expire, I think in November, October, the tenure of the whole National Working Committee. So they are going to have convention. So let's see how this whole process eventually unfold. But they have agreed, and based on their advice from the Independent National Electoral Commission, and we have no choice than to accept what the agreement is, despite the fact that I have issues with the process, because Anyanwu had left his position. So the law is very clear in the party.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait for the PDP to make its own decision.
So there's a vacuum there.
Yes, I will have to wait for the PDP to make up its mind. At least they said that there's going to be a meeting in July, on July 23. That's in this month. But there's another issue on that, Mr. Ame. This talk of coalition. A good number of eggheads, top leaders in the PDP, very influential politicians within the PDP, and even some extras from other political parties, are coming together to form a coalition party of sorts. And the whole idea, of course, is 2027. And we also heard the chairman of the PDP saying that we're coming back to power in 2027. Do you see this coalition as an instrument for or against the People's Democratic Party?
I think I disagree on that. There are a lot of very strong People's Democratic Party members that are also part of this coalition meeting and discussing issues on how to, find a way to solve the current democratic setback that Nigerians is experiencing, both economically and socially. So we agree that there's a coalition in process, but one thing I'm sure that the people in charge of this coalition are also very conscious of all the necessary things to be done to make sure that this coalition deliver the necessary outcome, and protect the interest of Nigerians as regards, to be able to bring a government that will represent the true, collective interest of our people. So I do not see it as running on a coalition course with the PDP or the PDP standing against it. We don't know how it will eventually happen. There are political parties, and the bringing together of these political parties will bring the stronger alliance and bring an outcome that the coalition will be able to deliver, victory to the opposition. Because what we need, what the set out objective first of all is to bring a candidate that has the momentum, that has the popularity like what was done in the past, to be able to dislodge the current government that is in place, that is not performing. Because if a government is really performing, the coalition will not be sounding, the formation process for the coalition will not be so exciting to Nigerians. Today is very exciting. People, the expectation is very high. So I know that both of the members of the coalition, who are also members of the PDP, members of other political parties, are not at cross purposes. They are working in the direction that, yes, what we want is to be able to make a member of the coalition or a member of the opposition, get elected in 2027, and dislodge the current APC government.
Okay, but it's interesting, Mr. Ahmed, that we always talk about a non-performing president when we have a good number of governors that are getting a lot more money now than they ever did, and people in their different states are wondering what exactly is going on here. But that's another matter for another time. Let me come to you, Mr. Alaye. You spoke the other time, something very germane that you mentioned, the fact that another president could come and could dislodge a governor from one region of Nigeria and bring another governor from another region entirely to govern it. That's a very instructive one. But then you are perhaps also speaking to a constitutional rearrangement, a constitutional amendment to ensure that that does not happen. Because the current constitution we have now says that a state of emergency can be declared in a state, but it is completely silent on whether or not the governor should remain in office. So the question then would be, what happens to the governor and the State House of Assembly when a state of emergency has been declared? Now, that's perhaps work for the National Assembly, but in the next scheme of things, do you see this new arrangement, this peace that is being talked about, do you see it lasting? Do you see it bringing dividends of democracy to the people permanently? Mark you, Mr. Alaye, a good number of people will remind you and chronicle how successive governors have had issues with their successors, with their predecessors, every time they are in power. So do you see this putting paid to that trend permanently?
Very much. What is happening in River State, in as much as we are all students of current democracy in Nigeria, is not really new. But the manner and approach the predecessor is using powers from above to suppress what is happening in River State is the main concern. And Mr. President taking side to see that the incumbent governor is suppressed. Well, we don't have any issue. Our concern was that let the democratic process be made and applied in River State. Let people not go and impeach the governor through the back door. That, at least to a larger extent, has been settled. Now, the governor over time has always said that nothing is too big.
No, Mr. Alaye, I apologize. I don't think you are really, you're not speaking to the question that I asked. Just a second. The question that I'm asking is, there is history, and you affirmed this history. And if you would agree with me, a good number of times previously, there's been a lot of blood, there had been a lot of bloodletting. In this case, we haven't had any, thankfully. So the question that I'm asking is, now that the successor and predecessor are in agreement now, different from what existed before, where the predecessor and the successor hardly ever get by together, hardly ever, get on together. Do you see this trend, this current arrangement, being the last time that the predecessor and successor will ever be in conflict in Rivers State, particularly in the government house?
We are coming because the governor has made it very clear that in even addressing his simplified movement group followers, he made it very clear that by the grace of God that he will, by all means, within his power, make sure that he sustain this agreement that he has reached with his successor. So believing in who he is and the kind of person he is, I believe that this peace process is going to be sustained in order for Rivers people to have the dividends of democracy. If it is only the doings of the governor, we believe that the peace process can be sustained. We can't really speak for his successor because over time we have seen his antecedents. It's one person that is so power intoxicated. So we don't know if at all if the governor comes back and he will want to impose some unnecessary or those things that are not within the agreement document that the governor have had with him. So that we can't tell. But if it is from the side of the governor, he has always told the path of peace. He has always told people that there is nothing too big for him to sacrifice in order for Rivers people to have the dividends of democracy. So I believe that within the powers of the governor, he will sustain this peace agreement for the benefit of Rivers people, not for himself, but for the benefit of Rivers people that gave him the mandate to manage the affairs of Rivers State for 4 years. So I believe this peace agreement and the process is going to be sustained.
Okay, so how about the political class in Rivers State? What conversation should we be having with them? What information should be going out to them? And what do they need to know to ensure that this peace is permanent, whether it is this government that is in power or even the next one that comes?
Like I said earlier, the governor has already told his followers that this is the time to show commitment and followership. People of Rivers State supported the governor not because they are benefiting anything from the governor, but they believe that it was Rivers people that gave him the mandate, and they can't allow one individual to subvert that mandate. And today he has come to address his people that, look, for the sake of Rivers people, let's give this reconciliation a chance. So it is the Rivers people that are making the larger part of the sacrifice. He has told them that, look, let go of your ambition. You supported me when you have nothing. So continue to maintain that peace. But there are some other people within the Rivers State political environment, the political class, that might not be comfortable with the path the current governor is doing. And that is where the coalition comes into play. Because the governor that handed over Rivers State to Nyesom Wike is also in the coalition table. And some of his followers were also with the incumbent governor. So can the governor control all those that were his followers, not to toe the part of the coalition? Those are issues, discussions for other day, because they haven't come out to make their position known. But as the days goes, I believe that the governor is interested.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Is that
so those are where that's where the question lies, really, as to whether or not the supporters who are not privy to the terms of the agreement, whether they will be supporting this peace process, because we've already heard from some of the governor's supporters that they are not in support of this. That they think that what has happened is not a settlement. They think that what has happened is an outright surrender of the governor. And we're already beginning to hear those kinds of discontent. You also seem a little discontented when you say that, look, all of the time, it was not the governor who was the aggressor. It was the former governor of Rivers State, his predecessor in office, who was the aggressor. So when you have sentiments like this already being expressed, do you think that the environment will allow whatever peace pact that has been reached, find and take root?
Of Rivers State. And he is the one that is leading the affairs of Rivers State. Every other person that is his followers, I believe he is their principal. And he has what it takes to guide and direct them. Some person will definitely not be comfortable, but that won't hinder the development and the dividends of democracy that the governor intends to give to people of Rivers State.
Okay, let me quickly bring to your attention one of the conditions we have heard, and it is not confirmed. We're not privy to the condition, but this has been flying around, and nobody has debunked it, which is that the governor will not be seeking a second term. I don't know if you've heard that, and how it's sitting with your group, the Joy Youth Council.
The governor of Rivers State, Similaye Fubara, is a citizen of Nigeria, and by virtue of the Nigerian Constitution, we believe that the governor has the right to seek for re-election for his second term. Be that as it may, everything that is happening currently is just mere rumor. We haven't heard it from the governor. So let us give him the benefit of that to manage the remaining part of his first term. Then when we get to 2027, we shall know if that is part of the agreement. And if he has delivered the dividends of democracy for Rivers people, then it is left for Rivers people to ask him to contest or not to recontest. But as the president of council, if they say that the part of the agreement he has signed or they gave to him that he should not seek re-election for 2027, then some of us are not going to be part of that, because that is an infringement to his fundamental human rights, and it's against the Nigerian Constitution as amended 1999. So we can't be part of that. Oppression is what we will never support. We have always been a group of marginalized persons, and agitation has always been part of our lifetime. So standing behind the Rivers State governor to seek re-election come 2027 is not going to be a new thing to us, because for we to sit down and allow some group of persons to infringe on his constitutional rights is what we as people we will not accept. But as a political party member, he on his own politically or willingly said that he's not going to seek re-election. That is his choice, and it is within his power. So we won't force him. But if it is confirmed that it is people that compel him not to contest, then the IYC and the Joy Youth are not going to be part of that oppressive agreement that they have.
All right, Mr. Alaye, let me quickly come to my guest in the studio, because I'm sure he'd also like to quickly weigh on this. These are all the developments around the PDP, in the PDP, as we, as they move forward to their next NEC meeting. Do you think that first they'll be able to maintain the truce, which they have now maintained, and also for the governors or for the people who are defecting out of their party, we don't know. We do not know. This is just speculation based on what people have interpreted. That it's also possible that the governor of Rivers could be defected. It's unclear, and he has not come out to say anything, whether yes or no to that. But what do you make of the reconciliation moves, and how do you think it's going to sit with the people of Rivers State? I know you're not from there, but
first of all, I have to talk to the other guest on Zoom. He said that when the governor is stopped from not contesting going for a second term, like to infringe on his constitutional right. But he also said, whether if this decision is the best interest of the Rivers people, the agreement is good. His constitutional right has already been infringed upon. The fight in the state was that the governor was trying to stand independently and work for the state, with the people of the state. And then his predecessor found it very offending that he contributed largely to bring him to power. And if you look at that kind of statement, it shows that there's no democratic electoral processes that is enshrined in our elections. So if one man could, say it publicly, I brought you, then what is the interest of the electorate in? What is the decision of the electorate in the process? So these are, and when you look at what the president has done, the president has actually, negatively have impact on our democracy, because Section 305 it does not give the president the power to remove an elected governor that enjoy immunity under the Constitution in Section 308. The president has no such power anywhere. It's not something we have to second guess. We don't have to review the Constitution to be able to understand that the president has no such power. This is everybody has condemned it. Whether senior lawyers, everybody has condemned it. So we need to understand that the attempt to capture the state, the attempt to hold the governor to ransom, led to the struggle in the first place. And the governor, in trying to now create an independent way of managing the public resources for the benefit of and the good of the people, also led to this crisis. So as of today, I can clearly tell you that the governor has been captured and he has surrendered. It is a surrendering process because he's not acting in a way that a democratic governor should act to defend his right and defend the right of the people defending him.
Well, we'll see how that matter eventually pans out. Section 305, I think that the PDP governors, interestingly, have gone to court to challenge, for the Supreme Court to declare.
So why is it taking the Supreme Court a long time for a suspension of 6 months to sit down and take decision? So this is what all the things that affect our democracy. The Supreme Court must look at issues from an emergency perspective and not take it, as a political decision.
So we'll wait for the Supreme Court to weigh in on that particular matter. But gentlemen, we have to thank you both for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. We've been speaking with Mr. Peter Ame, who's the National Secretary of the Coalition of United Political Parties, and Mr. Theophilus Alaye joined us via Zoom. He's the President of the Ijo Youth Council. Well, we're just waking up on a Saturday morning, it's a Friday evening now, when we heard that the national chairman of the national chairman, because he's resigned now, Umar Ganduje, had resigned from the APC as the national chairman of the party. There were questions as to who exactly was going to be sitting in his place, but it does appear that the party is taking care of that now. But then there were speculations as to why, even though he had said that he was resigning on health grounds. But this is Nigeria. People know that people do not just resign just like that, even when they're ill. And I think that the message of Mr. Peter Obi, who's of the Labour Party, quickly sent out saying that is very commendable. We wish that political party, political office holders who are not feeling well too will take the cue. But that's because this is where we are. So the question was, what exactly could be the real reason? Is this in connection with 2027? Is it in connection with certain calculations within his party? We do know that the national chairman before now was the governor of Kano State and had been deputy governor to former governor of Kano State as well, Rabiu Kwankwanso, who many had been speculating they want to move to the APC. It was seen that the All Progressives Congress had been wooing him for a long time, even though he's been saying, look, I'm not ready for any coalition. But it does appear that this resignation, and that's what political analysts have been saying, is to prepare the grounds and to say that, sir, if you're ready, they're ready to welcome him into the All Progressives Congress. But what exactly is it? Is that meat to this speculation? This morning, we're being joined by Yusuf Ibrahim Sharada, who is a national coordinator, Project Save Nigeria, and also an ardent supporter of the Kwankwansia movement. Is that the color of the cap?
Yeah.
Does that explain the cap you're wearing? Because I know they like red caps.
Yeah. It is our symbol.
Indeed. So when you heard the resignation of Umar Ganduje over the weekend as the national chairman of the APC, did it send a signal to you that indeed perhaps the APC could be serious about getting the Kwankwansia and the NNPP into the fold of the APC?
It is so, because they had been wooing Senator Kwankwaso to join them in FEC, knowing his antecedent and the mass followership. And of course, it is their political permutations. Senator Konkoso has been staying away from FEC because he is not in tandem with what they are doing as a government. But they have been insisting that they want him to join them. You know, politics is about numbers, and they know that he has the numbers, especially from Kano and the Kwa northwestern part of this country. So we don't know. Maybe they have perfected their plan, and this is one of their way to show him, because we believe that our boss, our leader, Senator Konkoso, will not join them, especially with Ganduje as the chairman of that party, knowing fully, because he is the person that knows Ganduje more than any other person. He has been his boss. They served 2 terms, Ganduje as his deputy. So maybe APC have perfected their plan. They want Konkoso to be in their side. And it is political permutation, as I told you. They are looking for the numbers because they are maybe of their anti-masses policies. Masses of Nigeria are no longer with them. So they now want someone that the masses of this country have hope in to join them, so that they have those numbers, especially from that part of the country.
What is the sentiment of members of the NNPP and the Kwankwansia movement from what you can get?
You see, one thing that people should understand about the followers or supporters of Senator Konkoso is that they value him more than any platform that he is in, I mean the party. Because of his antecedent and the way he impacted so many lives in that part of the nation, so people listen to his opinion. Now people are waiting for him to lead the way, to show the way, to give directives, and they are ready to follow because they have that belief in him that he will not take them to where they will suffer. So people are now waiting for him. Of course, he is reaching out. He is looking at all the available options before his table. There is issue of coalition reaching out to him. There's issue of APC led by Tinubu reaching out to him, maybe even taking this decision of maybe removing Ganduje just to pave a way for him. And even there is people from PDP that are wooing him to come back to his former party, forgetting what they have done to him during the Northwest Congress in Kaduna and other issues. Now he is weighing all these options, especially to see where, if he go, will be better for himself and for his followers, and by extension for the masses of this country. Of course, the NNPP are waiting for him to lead, and everybody, the governor, the senators, and all the high-ranking officers in the party are waiting for his decision.
So they're waiting for him to lead. They hold no, and they're not reluctant for him to join the APC.
You see, they are not reluctant for him to join the APC because he will not just join like that. He must be on a table with them to show them that, okay, if we are to be with you, this is what we don't want, what we don't like, especially from the governance aspect of East. All these anti-masses policies, he will not agree with them. And if they agree to listen to him, to know his fate and the fate of his followers, to know that they can adjust and revisit how they are governing the country, no. If he decided, he can join them, and we are ready to follow him.
Well, I do know that political watchers have been saying that in all of this, what they have been looking at is the position of the current vice president, because it does appear that the current vice president might not be on the same ticket with the president come 2027. That has not been confirmed anywhere, but these are some of the things that we're hearing, and it has not been debunked as well, because we're hearing that, oh, it's only after the convention that the president will take a decision on that. So that clearly hangs in the balance. And people have been saying, oh, perhaps that is a position that is going to be offered the leader of the Kwankwansia movement. And there are those who are saying, no, that will be an insult. And those who are saying, no, it is not an insult. Where do you stand on that?
You see, Senator Konkoso is a politician. And he has served this country in so many capacities. Do not forget he was a
minister.
Yeah. Even before then, he was a member of House of Representatives, a deputy speaker for that matter, then served as a governor, as a minister, as a senator. So if he was offered a vice presidential slot, it's not an insult. And he is not all out looking for a position because he believes in serving the nation at whichever capacity he found himself. Even now that he is not holding any position, he is serving his people. So it's not an insult. If they decided to offer that position with him, do not forget that I told you earlier that what I am sure is that no matter the arrangement, he must table before them the policies and the programs that he sees that will bring a succor to Nigerian masses. He will not be part of any government that will continue suffering the people of this nation, irrespective of the position that he will be given. But if they will agree to revisit their policies, of course he can accept and work with them. And giving him a VP is not an insult. And that's one thing that I will want
very quickly, in 30 seconds here. We have to go 30 seconds. Finish your thoughts.
Yeah, so it's just maybe to be a good politician. That's why people are looking for him to join them. Do not forget that I told you all the other three Republicans are looking for him. And it is because of his antecedent and the way he conducts himself in politics. He's not a power monger as people think.
Well, we'll wait and see how political developments evolve. We have to thank you very much for coming on Sunrise Early this morning. Yusuf Ibrahim Sharada is the National Coordinator of Project Save Nigeria, and also, as you have heard, an ardent supporter of the Kwankwansiya movement. Thank you once more for coming on the program.
Thank you.
Well, that's how we leave it this beautiful Tuesday morning. Can't believe it's Tuesday already, the 1st of July. Thank you so much for being a part of our program. On top of the hour will be Business Morning. Ayo.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a beautiful month ahead.